Have you ever gotten exactly what you wanted and still felt empty? You worked for months to get that promotion. You finally got it, and for a few days life felt good, really good.
You told people. You felt seen.
Then slowly, quietly, without you noticing exactly when it happened, it stopped feeling like anything at all. You started thinking about the next thing, the next goal, the next version of your life that would finally make you happy. This is not a personal failure. This is the human condition. We live in a world that tells us to think positive, to visualize success, to imagine the life we want and chase it with everything we have. And so we chase, we run, we achieve. And then we stand at the finish line, look around and think, is this it? There is another way, an older way. A way that has been practiced for over 2,000 years by some of the greatest minds in history. It does not ask you to imagine your dream life. It asks you to imagine losing the life you already have. It sounds dark. It sounds strange. But what these ancient thinkers discovered will quietly change the way you see everything around you starting today. This lesson is for English learners who want more than words. It is for your mind, your future, and the ordinary moments you have stopped noticing. Because here is the truth that the Stoics built their lives on. What you might lose is what you already have. Lesson 1. The trap we all fall into. Think about the last time you were really excited about something. A new phone, a new apartment, a new relationship. Do you remember how it felt in the first week? Everything was bright. Everything felt fresh. You noticed every detail, the smell of the new space, the weight of the new device in your hand, the way this new person laughed at something small. Now think about 6 months later. The phone is just a phone. The apartment is just where you sleep. The excitement is gone. Not because anything went wrong, but because your brain adapted. Your brain looked at the good thing and said, okay, this is normal now. Move on. This is what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. You run and you run, but the feeling of arrival never lasts. So you run faster. You want more. You need the next thing to feel alive again. And our culture feeds this perfectly. Every advertisement tells you that you are not enough yet. Every social media feed shows you a version of life that is slightly better than yours. The apartment is a little bigger. The body is a little stronger. The holiday is a little further away. Every motivational poster says, dream bigger, want more, never settle. So you dream bigger. You want more. You never settle. And you are exhausted. Here is what nobody tells you. The problem is not that your life is too small. The problem is that you have stopped seeing your life clearly. Think about someone you know who has very little but seems genuinely at peace. Maybe a grandparent who grew up with almost nothing. Maybe a friend who lost everything once and rebuilt slowly. They have something you cannot buy. They see what they have. They have not forgotten what it felt like to go without. You have a job. You have people who care about you. You woke up this morning. Somewhere between the wanting and the chasing, you forgot that these things are not guaranteed. Your 15-year-old self had a dream. Do you know what that dream looked like? It looked a lot like your life right now. We do not need more. We need to see what we already have. But seeing clearly is harder than it sounds. Because the mind does not naturally look at what is there. It looks at what is missing. This is not a flaw in your character. For thousands of years, noticing what was missing kept humans alive. The ones who thought everything was fine got eaten. The ones who worried survived. But survival thinking and happiness thinking are very different things. And in the modern world, your brain is still scanning for danger, still looking for the gap, still telling you that you are not safe yet, not successful yet, not happy yet. The Stoics understood this, and they found a solution. Not a solution that tells you to ignore the gap. Not a solution that tells you to pretend everything is perfect. A solution that works with how the brain actually operates. What you might lose is what you already have. Lesson 2. What the Stoics knew that we forgot. About 2,000 years ago in the city of Rome, a man sat down each morning before the rest of the world woke up. He was the most powerful person alive. He commanded armies. He controlled an empire that stretched across 3 continents. His word was law. And every morning he reminded himself that he could lose everything. His name was Marcus Aurelius, and the journal he kept during those quiet mornings became one of the most read books in human history. In it, he wrote about impermanence, about how quickly things change, about how nothing we hold is truly ours to keep. He wrote about the people he loved, knowing they would not always be there. He wrote about his own health, his own power, knowing both could be taken from him without warning. He was not doing this to make himself miserable. He was doing it to stay awake, to stay grateful, to rule with wisdom instead of fear. The Stoics had a name for this practice. They called it premeditatio malorum. In simple English, the premeditation of evils. It means to think ahead deliberately about what could go wrong, about what you could lose, about what hardship might look like. Not to predict disaster, but to prepare your mind and to wake up your heart. Another Stoic, a writer named Seneca, took this even further. He did not just imagine discomfort, he practiced it. He would sleep on the floor for a night, eat plain food for a week, wear simple clothing even when he could afford better. And then he would sit quietly and ask himself, is this so bad? Could I survive this? The answer was always yes. And that yes gave him something money cannot buy. It gave him peace. Real peace. Not the peace of someone who has everything. The peace of someone who knows they can survive without it. Now, before you misunderstand this practice, there is one thing you must know. Negative visualization is not pessimism. This is the most important distinction in this entire lesson. A pessimist imagines the worst and gives up. A pessimist looks at the storm coming and sits down on the road. A pessimist says everything will go wrong, so why bother trying? That is not what the Stoics taught. A person who practices negative visualization imagines the worst and then does something completely different. They look up. They look at what is still here right now in this moment. They feel grateful. Then they try harder, not less. They move forward, not backward. They act with courage, not fear. Same dark image. Completely opposite result. The direction of the emotion is everything. Epictetus understood this better than anyone. He was not a Roman emperor. He was not a wealthy writer. He was born a slave with no freedom, no property, no choice over his own life. And yet he became one of the most respected teachers of his time. Students traveled from across the empire to sit at his feet and listen. He taught that we suffer most not from what we actually lose, but from what we fear losing. The fear is heavier than the loss. The anxiety about tomorrow is more painful than tomorrow itself. But here is what he discovered. When you have already sat with the image of loss, when you have already felt it quietly in your mind, the actual event loses most of its power. You have already walked through it in your imagination. You know somewhere deep in your body that you can survive it. What you might lose is what you already have. Lesson 3. Why your brain stops seeing what it has. Let me ask you something simple. When did you last notice the feeling of breathing? Not thinking about it, not reading about it right now, but actually feeling it. The air coming in through your nose, the chest rising slowly. The quiet release. the automatic miracle that has kept you alive every second of every day since the moment you were born. You did not notice it. Of course you did not. Because your brain decided long ago that breathing is normal, safe, expected, not worth attention. This is what the brain does with everything good in your life. The new apartment felt wonderful for 3 weeks. Then it became the place where you sleep. The raise felt like freedom for a month. Then it became your new normal, and you started thinking about the next raise. The relationship that once made your heart move fast became Tuesday evening on the sofa, comfortable and invisible. Psychologists have a name for this process. They call it hedonic adaptation. Your nervous system adapts to pleasure the same way your eyes adapt to light. Walk into a bright room and at first everything is sharp, vivid, almost overwhelming. Within minutes you stop noticing the brightness at all. It is just the room now. The light is still there. You just cannot see it anymore. Good things become invisible. Not because they stopped being good, but because your brain filed them under normal. No longer needs attention. Move on. And so we move on. Always forward, always toward the next thing, leaving behind a trail of good things we stopped seeing. Now here is where negative visualization enters. Not as a sad exercise, as a lens. Try this for a moment. Just for a few seconds, imagine that your eyesight begins to fade tomorrow.
Not all at once.
Slowly at first, the way evening comes before night. Colors lose their sharpness. Faces become harder to read. By next week, shapes are blurry at the edges. By next month, the world is moving shapes and changing light. By the end of the year, darkness. Now look around the room you are in right now. Really look. The colors, the shapes, the specific quality of the light coming through a window, the face of someone you love if they are near, the small, unremarkable details that your brain labeled boring 6 months after you moved in,
The pattern on the wall.
the way objects cast shadows, the visible proof that you are here in a world full of things to see. Do you see them differently now? That shift, that sudden sharpening of attention and gratitude, that is exactly what negative visualization produces. It does not change reality. It changes the lens through which you see reality. It removes the film of familiarity that covers everything good and makes it invisible. Epictetus said that when you kiss your child goodnight, or embrace your partner, or sit across the table from your closest friend, hold gently in your mind that this person is not permanent. Not as a dark thought to ruin the moment, as a reminder. A quiet way of making the ordinary moment feel like what it actually is, a gift that was never guaranteed. This sounds heavy, but people who practice this regularly do not walk around sad. They walk around awake. There is a difference between the weight of loss and the weight of love. Negative visualization does not fill you with the first. It fills you with the second. The brain stops seeing what it has. This practice teaches it to look again. And when you look again, ordinary life becomes something else entirely. The morning coffee, the working legs that carry you from room to room, the friend who answers when you call, the body that woke up this morning without being asked. These are not small things. They were never small things. You just forgot to look. Lesson 4. The 5-minute practice that changes everything. So far, this has been philosophy. Now it becomes practice. Because knowing about negative visualization is not enough. Reading about the Stoics is not enough. The mind changes through repetition, not through information. And this practice is simple enough that you can begin today with nothing but 5 minutes and a quiet place to sit. Here is how it works. In the morning, before the noise of the day begins, before your phone, before your coffee, before the first task on your list demands your attention, sit down somewhere still. Close your eyes. Take one slow breath. And then choose one thing. Just one. Something in your life that matters to you. It could be your health. Your ability to walk across a room, to think clearly, to speak the words in your mind. It could be a person. A parent whose voice you have heard your whole life. A partner who knows the parts of you that no one else sees. A friend whose laugh sounds the same as it did years ago. It could be something quieter. Your home. The simple fact that today you have enough food, enough warmth, enough safety to be sitting still and thinking. Hold that thing gently in your mind. And then ask yourself slowly and honestly, what if this was gone tomorrow? Not gone forever in some dramatic disaster, just gone, quietly. The way things sometimes disappear without announcement. What if you woke up tomorrow and this was no longer part of your life? Sit with that feeling for a moment. Let it be real. Let it have weight. Let it be a little uncomfortable, just for a few seconds. Then open your eyes and notice what happens next. The coffee you were about to make suddenly smells different. The morning light through the window looks different. The person in the next room, the friend you planned to call later. The body that carried you through yesterday without complaint. They become precious in a way that is hard to put into words, but impossible to ignore once you feel it. This is not sadness. This is clarity. Rotate this practice across 3 areas of life. Some mornings focus on your body, your eyes that read these words right now, your hands, the steady rhythm of your heartbeat. Other mornings focus on a person you love. Sit with the image of them fully present in your life, and then gently imagine their absence. On other mornings, focus on freedom, the ability to choose your day, to move through the world, to simply be here, thinking, feeling alive. You will find that no 2 mornings feel exactly the same, because the thing you choose always reveals something different about the depth of what you already have. There is one important warning. This practice must be done in calm, not in panic. There is a real difference between sitting quietly with the thought of loss and sliding into anxiety about it. The Stoics were not anxious people. They were deeply grounded people. The goal of this exercise is not to frighten yourself. It is to wake yourself up. If you notice your thoughts starting to race, if the image becomes a worry instead of a meditation, gently open your eyes, take a breath, and come back to the room. Look at something real and solid. The table, the wall, your own hands resting in your lap. And remind yourself, this is still here. Today, right now, this is still here. That is the whole practice. 5 minutes, one thing, one honest question. Then back to your day more awake than before. What you might lose is what you already have. Lesson 5. The courage formula before every big decision. There is a moment most people know well. You are standing at the edge of something new. A new job that excites you but frightens you. A conversation you have been avoiding for months. A decision that could change the shape of your life in ways you cannot yet predict. And instead of moving forward, you freeze. Because the mind does not show you the opportunity clearly. It shows you everything that could go wrong. What if I fail? What if I lose what I have right now? What if it breaks everything I have built? Fear of the unknown is not really about the unknown. It is about the imagination. Your mind fills the blank space ahead with worst-case scenarios, and then treats those scenarios as if they are certainties. The job might go badly, so you stay where you are. The conversation might hurt someone, so you stay silent. The leap might fail, so you never leave the ground. The Stoics faced this same paralysis. Before battles, before political decisions that could end their careers or their lives, before choices with consequences they could not control. And they developed a formula, simple, direct, and surprisingly effective. They asked 3 questions. What is the worst that can happen? Can I survive it? Then what is stopping me? Let us walk through this slowly because the power is in the process, not just the words. First, what is the worst that can happen? Do not leave it vague. The shapeless fear that lives in the background is far more powerful than a named one. Give it a shape. Give it specific details. If I take this new job and it does not work out, I will be looking for work again back where I started, but with new experience. If I have this honest conversation and it goes badly, this relationship will need time and honesty to heal. If I start this project and it fails, I will have lost time and money, and I will know more than I did before. Named fears are smaller than unnamed fears, every time without exception. Second, can I survive it? Look at the specific worst outcome you just named. Look at it honestly and without drama. People lose jobs and find new ones. Relationships survive hard conversations. Projects fail, and their creators begin again carrying what they learned. You have survived difficult things before. You are here, still thinking, still moving, still capable of choosing. The answer almost always is yes. You can survive it. Third, then what is stopping you? This is where the formula becomes a mirror. Because once you know the worst, and once you know you can survive it, the fear does not disappear completely, but it changes shape. It becomes smaller, more honest, less like a wall and more like a door you can choose to open. Marcus Aurelius made decisions for an entire empire using this kind of thinking. He did not eliminate risk. He looked at risk directly, named it, measured it against his capacity to survive it, and then acted. That is not recklessness. That is courage with open eyes. Here is the thing that surprises people most. Negative visualization does not make you more cautious. It makes you braver. Because the person who has already imagined the worst is not controlled by it. The person who has never looked at the worst is ruled by a shadow. Fear shrinks when you face it quietly and with clear eyes. It grows larger every time you turn away. Lesson 6. Amor fati. Love what is. There is a Latin phrase that sits at the heart of Stoic philosophy. 2 words. Amor fati. It means love of fate, not acceptance of fate, not tolerance of fate, not making peace with fate because you have no other choice. Love. This is where negative visualization leads if you follow it long enough and honestly enough. It begins as a practice of imagination. It becomes a practice of gratitude. And if you stay with it, it becomes something deeper than both. It becomes a way of meeting your life exactly as it is. Not as you wished it would be, not as you feared it might become, but as it actually is right now, in this moment. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire for nearly 2 decades. He buried children. He fought wars he did not start. He watched people he trusted choose betrayal. He faced plague, rebellion, and loss of every kind. And he wrote in his private journal again and again that the obstacle is not the enemy of the path. The obstacle is the path. He was not pretending that hard things were good. He was choosing to find meaning inside them, rather than spending his energy fighting the fact that they existed. Seneca faced something even more final. Near the end of his life, the emperor ordered him to die. He was given no trial, no appeal, no mercy. And the accounts that survive tell us that Seneca met that moment with calm. Not because he did not value his life, but because he had spent decades practicing the thought of losing it. He had already said goodbye to everything he loved in his mind many times. When the actual moment came, it held no power over him. Only the familiar, steady feeling of a man who had lived fully awake. This is not a story about death. It is a story about how to live. Because Amor Fati is not about the end. It is about Tuesday morning. It is about the ordinary, unremarkable, easily overlooked texture of a regular day. The traffic that makes you late. The plan that falls apart quietly. The small frustrations that stack up and make a day feel wasted before it is finished. A person practicing Amor Fati does not pretend these things are wonderful. But they do not spend their energy resisting them either. They look at what is here, what is real, what is actually happening in front of them, and they find a way to say, "This too is my life. This too is worth being present for." And something opens when you stop fighting what is. Energy that was locked in resistance becomes available for living. Attention that was fixed on what is missing turns toward what is present. The morning that felt gray and ordinary begins to feel quietly and unexpectedly like something worth having. The coffee in your hand right now. The breath moving through your body without effort. The person in your life who would notice if you disappeared tomorrow. The fact that you are here reading and thinking and feeling. These are not consolation prizes for a life that did not turn out as planned. They are the thing itself. This is the life. Right here. Negative visualization brought you to this place. It took the comfortable and made it precious. It took the invisible and made it visible again. It reached into the ordinary and handed it back to you as if for the first time. What you might lose is what you already have. And what you already have, when you see it clearly, is more than enough. We started today with a question. Have you ever gotten exactly what you wanted and still felt empty? Now you understand why. Not because you are ungrateful, not because your life is lacking, but because the human mind adapts. It files good things away under normal and moves forward. It scans for the gap instead of resting on the ground beneath your feet. The Stoics found a way through this, not by wanting less, not by pretending life is perfect, but by looking honestly and quietly at what they stood to lose. And in that looking, they found something unexpected. They found the life they were already living seen clearly for the first time. Marcus Aurelius saw it from a throne. Seneca saw it at the end of a life fully examined. Epictetus saw it from the very bottom with nothing but his mind and his freedom to decide how to meet each day. You can see it too. 5 minutes in the morning. One thing you love. One honest question. Then open your eyes and go back to your day, but more awake than before. So here's the question I want to leave with you today. Think about it slowly, and if you feel ready, share your answer in the comments below. What is one thing in your life that you would miss most if it disappeared tomorrow? Not a dream, not a goal for the future, something you already have, something so familiar, so close, that you may have stopped noticing it is even there. Write it down. Say it out loud to yourself. Or just hold it quietly for a moment before this video ends. Because that thing, whatever it is for you, that is where your happiness already lives. Not in the next chapter. Not after the next achievement. Right here, right now, in the life you are already living. Keep listening and keep growing in English and in life. Until next time, goodbye.